Yes.
All right, we are live.
All right. We're live on Facebook. Hi, this is Jim Blythe, Veterans Impact Show. Joining me today, James Henderson. We'll be going live on the air in about 15 minutes or 15 seconds or less. So thank you for joining in. Share, get it out there, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Stand by for high winds and heavy seas. I got the best of the Army. Welcome to the Veterans Impact Show, where we continue the mission of highlighting veterans and service organizations who continue to serve our community and our nation. We're brought to you by Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Don't worry, retire happy. Welcome aboard. You know what? We're coming up here on the 4th of July this next week, and I wanted to have a guy that just absolutely has been a great friend, had been so instrumental in helping me to help seniors and to help people. I want to introduce to you James Henderson. Now, but before I jump into that, because everybody can see him, I want to say a special thank you to Nathaniel Smith with Ascend Podcasting for engineering this thing. With him, it works. And I want to thank my wife, Diane, who's on social media. And so if you have questions, and like Joe Donlevy, thank you for jumping aboard. Thank you and good morning. All right, let's talk about when we were kids. First of all, you're Army proud.
Well,
Yeah.
exactly. Exactly. I really didn't think there was another service until folks started telling me about these other services. But yes, Army, Corps, all the way.
Well, I'm Navy, but just remember, we guys got you to the beach. Okay. And we supplied you. And you know,
Okay.
what is so great is though, once we are out, that mission continues and that
Oh, yeah.
service continues. And this is what you have done because you are the Dallas County Veteran Service Officer who helps veterans get their benefits and
Exactly.
helps people. And you help me, you help so many people. And your contacts around the nation are unbelievable because you've actually helped me to get veterans benefits for people in other states. So if you're in another state, you need some help, you call me. I'll call up James and we'll figure out a way to get you there from here if we can. But
All
in
right.
that, I got to tell you, James, we're coming up on the 4th of July. It's
Yep.
special. It's a special holiday
Yes.
for us. Tell me about some of your most favorite experiences with the 4th of July. I think it's so cool.
Well, Jim, first of all, let me say thank you very much for allowing me this opportunity to speak with not only you and your audience. I love it when I'm able to come on your show and just sit down and just talk with you. To get back to the question at hand, the significance of the 4th of July. First of all, Independence Day. Giving or understanding what our independence mean. Independence. It basically states that what has given us the right to say, do, communicate in a way that we as Americans can only do and have only been afforded the opportunity to do because of the significance that has been made by military currently and our former military personnel. So it is one of the most important days that we can commemorate within our society and within the what we do here in the United States. So it is.
Absolutely. And you know, we were talking before the deal
Mhm.
about an experience you had in Germany, in Berlin, that really brought it home the difference of the United States and other countries, and especially what you experienced going through Checkpoint Charlie. Tell me about that, buddy.
Well, Jim, I always tell folks, you never know what it is that you have here in the States until you go some other place and experience what they have or do not have. My experience in Berlin, as we were talking a little bit earlier, had the opportunity to visit Berlin before the wall came down, and I'll never forget one little issue that was going on. We were there. I was at a bakery, and there was loaves of bread there in the bakery. The pastries and everything. All of a sudden, there was a guard that came up. This was about, I never forget, it was about noon daytime. A guard came up and said, we've met our quota, and we aren't selling any more of the products today. And there was a line of individuals there, and they all walked away, heads hung low, not understanding, not understanding, what was going on or what had happened. I look back on my American experience. We can go to Walmart or Costco or whatever, and if there's 100 loaves of bread there, it doesn't make a difference. We can go in as American citizens, and we can go in and buy whatever it is that we want, and there's no impact. However, these folks were at noontime given told that we aren't selling any more of this product today. Jim, that just made me think about a lot about the United States and how we operate. We basically operate on a deal or an issue of we have a right to. And unfortunately, these guys didn't have a right to, and they were unfortunately, basically left out of the situation of even the minor things, buying bread. I think that was
had to be huge for those people, but
it was huge for the people and huge for me, just thinking about it. Even now, it's like, wow. That's all
you think. You think about a company like Panera Bread that when they get through at the end of the day, anything they haven't sold, they give away. They give to the food pantry.
Mm-hmm.
But another side of this, as military, the vast majority of us got to travel overseas. And that was one of the greatest experiences in the world. Join the Navy, see the world. Join the Army, be part of the world. I'm kidding. And one of the things that was so amazing to me was getting off an airplane in Manila in the Philippines and going through the Philippines to Subic Bay. And anybody's had that experience, I got to tell you, it's an eye-opener. And at that time in the 1960s, they were under a terrible dictatorship. And boy, let me tell you something. The Philippines was a rough place to be. And so when you see that and you experience it, you don't just talk about it. It's not a film. You see it. All of a sudden, you're like, wow. And we used to say, remember saying this? I can't wait till when we get back to the world.
Jim, and that is one of the things that, that I say a lot. Even though we have our, little differences here in the United States, I can tell you there is, of all of the places that I've had a chance to visit, and I'm going to say visit throughout this world, there's no other place that I'd rather be than here.
Well, and here's the other thing right now. They're clamoring to get here. They're coming through our borders. I don't want to make a political statement, but I'm saying the reason that they're wanting to be here is because the opportunities that are here, the freedoms that are here, the things that we have that they want that opportunity to earn. And I don't want to get political, but I just want to say, God bless those people trying to get here, and let's see what we can do to help them to be successful in this country.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's so important. I remember, though, we were talking about overseas. I remember as a child, one of the most important 4th of Julys was in the little farming community of Chatfield, Texas, north of Corsicana, in the volunteer fire department picnic. And we had all races, all people in that community came together for this wonderful picnic. And they had volleyball, they had a baseball game going. And I got to tell you, we all came together. And my goodness gracious, some of those ladies made the most wonderful things. Together, we were all so strong supporting that volunteer fire department. Mm-hmm. Together, we were a community. And that's a very, very, very small community. And yet it was so vibrant. And that's what I'm praying in this nation, that we get a revival of community and we're coming back together. And you know who I think is going to lead the way?
Who's
Guys
that?
like you and me, our veterans. We can lead the way.
Exactly.
Now, I'd like to change the subject because I not only did I want to bring you on, but because we're great friends and you've done so much. Tell me a little bit. Now, you talked about the Army and being in Germany, but the latter part of your career set you up for success in what you're doing today. So, to segue in what you're doing today, what did you do in the latter stages of your Army career that helped you so much?
Well, starting out in my military career, way back in 1983, I started my journey in the military as an infantryman. I ended my career, believe it or not, as more of an admin role as a chaplain's assistant. My role at that time was mainly chaplain in the military is a non-combatant. So my job was protection of the chaplain and also to lend support to that particular mission. It also gave me the opportunity to start to really focus in on the helping side of everything throughout the military, understanding the agencies that were associated within the military, how to use those agencies and those gifts to better support or help a person that was in uniform. That actually started everything for me in getting out of the military. Once I got out of the military, I knew that I wanted to stay in a role of helping those that had been actually in the military. Didn't want to go with a just a complete civilian role. I wanted to continue to help folks that had worn the uniform because I'd worn it for almost 25 years. I could connect with those folks. I understand what some of the issues that that we have or have had, and I just wanted to continue that mission with how can I be of assistance? How can I help? What can I do to better someone's current situation or to help them through a past situation? We always talk about being in the military, psychological issues, whether it's psychological issues or even physical issues. Once somebody gets out of the military, dealing with both of those, even though they're two completely different things, it has to take veterans know veterans. People that have been in the military know people that have been in the military. We understand the language of each other. And I think that it gives that person a little bit more of a camaraderie per se.
Perspective.
Exactly.
And a relationship. We've got a common bond.
That's the one. Exactly. We have a common bond. So I can speak the language. Sort of like when I tell people about jumping out of airplanes. Unless you jumped out of an airplane, you can't tell me the experience about what it was to jump out of that airplane. So being in the military and assisting somebody that has been in the military, I can relate. Before we even start, we have a bond. And now I just need to continue to solidify that bond in order for me to go forward and to assist you or to help you in whatever it is or whatever aspect it is that you're needing assistance with. And that's either going through the VA system, navigating that bowl of bureaucracy, or just having somebody there as a listening ear. Believe it or not, sometimes just having somebody that has had the experience or been through that particular experience, having that ear and you being able to just let it go, let it out, that also helps a lot. Even with, before we even start to talk about filing disability claims or anything like that. Have you ever spoken with a World War II veteran or a Vietnam veteran. Sometimes those guys and ladies, they just want to talk or tell somebody about the experience or the story that they had.
And I got to tell you, I'm the Vietnam veteran. I have participated in deals where we recorded those stories, and I have listened. And a lot of times, your combat veterans, Vietnam, some of the things that happened in Iraq and Afghanistan, they don't want to talk about it, yet they need to. And I think that's important in what you do. And it's important. And so one of the things with this program and continuing the mission of service, we've talked about organizations that bring guys together. One of the biggest things that is within, I think, is happening with this new PACT Act is a real effort to end isolation, is a real effort to move forward, to help veterans, so veterans help veterans. And then you're talking about World War II, and you helped me get a World War II veteran his benefits, and he was in Richmond, Virginia, and I have helped a number of them to go. And the first thing they said, and you and I have talked about this, is I don't want to go to the VA because it's a bureaucracy. I don't want to go to the VA because people get blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I want to dispel those myths. Yes, it's a bureaucracy. Yes, it's government, but there are people to navigate. Just like you're talking about jumping out of a perfectly good airplane, you wouldn't do it if you didn't get trained. You wouldn't do it if you didn't have a jump master.
Exactly.
Unless things got real bad. And I believe it or not, I've never jumped, but I've been through all the jump training for the time I flew as flight crew in the Navy. And so what I want to say is this is real important to say, how do we go about navigating a system? And it's not that impossible, and it's not that difficult, because there's, what is it, 1.25 million or so that are in the VA healthcare system. I can't remember. And here in Dallas County, we've got like what, 130, 140?
Yeah, here in Dallas County, we've got as far as the veteran population, well, my population here in Dallas County is 109,000 veterans. That is just Dallas County, period. However, with the within Dallas County, we have one of the largest VA systems. Our VA, we have the Dallas County VA Hospital. We have the Fort Worth VA, and then we have another in Garland.
You know, we've got the second largest. Now, I got to interrupt you because we're going to go to a commercial break, but we've got the second largest VA in the United States. And Texas now, the state of Texas, has more veterans than any other state in the union. We have surpassed California.
Exactly.
And we're getting all the good looking ones like you and me. I don't, you know.
Hey, exactly.
All right. We're going to be right back after this word from all of our partners. You're listening and watching Veterans Impact Show with James Henderson. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show. And thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Well, I want to tell you real quick, I work for Fairway Independent Mortgage, and they help pay for this program. And my NMLS number is 311548, and the corporate one is 2289. And what I do is I work with seniors throughout 6 states, providing refinancing, counseling, all of the things that help. I am a certified senior advisor. And believe it or not, James, I forgot to tell you, I'm now an ordained chaplain that specializes in working with seniors. And so one of the things that's so important is, again, when you're talking to another veteran, and if I've had this conversation once, I've had it 100+ times, and I'm screaming at them, and finally I say, you've got a real hearing problem. What did you do? Well, I was artillery in the Army. I was gunner's mate in the Navy. I was this or that. I say, you can't hear. Well, yeah, I worked on the flight deck of an aircraft carrier. I did too. And let me tell you something, you got hearing problems. If you go to the VA and you get signed up, they're going to diagnose you, and you're going to be able to get hearing aids, about what, $6,000 worth of hearing aids?
Wow, it is unbelievable how much hearing aids or any type of hearing apparatus would cost on the outside. And as you stated, if you are a veteran, you have the opportunity to go to the VA hospital, speak with an audiologist. If there's a determination has been made that you are in need of any type of hearing apparatus, you will get one of the best type of hearing aids that you can buy on the outside, and it's not going to cost you anything except for a little bit of time to go in and listen to some beeps and some bees and whatever it is that they do in order to do that hearing test for you. So,
and I think here's the other thing, and I'm interrupting you because I want to get somewhere.
Yeah.
The other thing is you will get a VA disability. Now, most of them I've seen for the hearing deal is 10 to 20% loss, but you get a check every month for that disability. You can also send that to the county, and if your ad valorem real estate taxes on the home you own will be reduced by the amount of that disability. And all of a sudden it becomes an ongoing finance. So now you can hear, and there's no excuse, guys, you can't ignore your wife anymore because she knows you got hearing aids.
What is that, selective hearing, right?
Selective hearing. Yeah, I've been accused of that more than once in my life. But this is really important. But also, one of the biggest changes that's come about, and we're going to be getting into this more as we go into this program, and one of the biggest is the PACT Act. Can you give me kind of an overview of the PACT Act? Because I think it is the biggest expansion of the VA and the VA resources that we've had in many, many, many years.
All right, Jim, if you allow me, I want to go back and just make a small correction on something that you just said here.
Okay, please.
When you start to talk about benefits to the Department of Veteran Affairs, everything is, it's we've got to go through the paperwork, got to go through the bureaucracy. I always say that there's a possibility of benefits because there are certain aspects or certain parameters that have to be met in order for that condition to become service connected. Mm-hmm. So even though you are, the VA does allow you to get the hearing aids or to go to the doctor for any other conditions, there is a strong possibility and a probability that the condition could be service connected and you receive compensation for it. But you still have to go through the paperwork to find out, one, if it's a nexus between then and now. And, we're able to assist with all of that and with all of the necessary documents that you may need. So bottom line is, if you think you have a problem, go to the doctor, get diagnosed for it, and get in contact with a veteran service officer so that we can triage and let you know exactly whatever it is that you need in order to get that condition service connected. Okay.
Well, let me add one thing to that. And thank you for correcting me.
Mm-hmm.
When you say go to the doctor, I'm going to say go to see your county veteran service officer if you're in Texas, or go to your VA accredited rep wherever you are in the United States and get there first to navigate the system. Do not try and navigate that by yourself.
There's no need to try to navigate it by yourself. There is assistance there. Use the assistance that a lot of the states have put in place for you to gather or gain information about the Department of Veteran Affairs. So there's assistance there. Don't try to do it alone. Use the avenues that have been given to you. Don't pay somebody to do this for you.
You're right. Don't.
Free of charge.
It is free of charge. Here's the other thing too. Now we're talking about health and medical issues, but one of the biggest benefits for a veteran is to be able to buy a house with the most advantageous home loan, the VA home loan, 100% down, lowest interest rate, no mortgage insurance. And let me tell you something. I'd have had a call this last week from a loan officer, and they said, "Oh, we've got a veteran who's moved to Dallas and he doesn't have his DD-214.
Oh, wow.
How do you get it?" And
Okay.
I picked up the phone, and he's in Collin County.
Mhm.
And I said, okay, here is the name and phone number of the county veteran service rep in Collin County. And I I think within a day they had a DD 214 for him. Is that
And you're absolutely right on that. However, gaining access to your DD 214, for the most part, you will have to go through the what is called the National Archives to
right?
gain access or request a copy of your DD 214. You go to the www.archives.gov. You complete the application there to request a copy of the DD 214. This request can be done by the veteran if the veteran is still alive, and it can also be done by the survivor or any dependents of that veteran after the death of the veteran. The DD 214 one is what we call the Bible of your
You got it. You got to have it. It'll get you a home loan. It'll get you the Hazelwood Act in the state of Texas to where you can go to school, your spouse or your children can go to school.
Exactly.
I'll tell you what, though, it's time to take another break. We're going to be right back after these words from our commercial partners. This is James Henderson and Jim Blythe, the two Jimmies here to sparkle your 4th of July. How about that? That's a great deal, isn't it?
Yes.
Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show, and thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Hey, I'm Jim Blythe, U.S. Navy veteran. If you're joining us, we're talking with James Henderson, U.S. Army veteran. Army proud. I'm very careful when I say go Navy, beat Army, because guys like him were infantry, and I don't mess with them.
All right.
One of the things is this is the sparkle bang time of year, and I wanted to have a patriotic program that we talked about the most important thing for veterans, and that's how do you get your benefits. And James Henderson is the Dallas County Veteran Service Officer, and we were just talking about you got to go to a VA accredited rep in the Texas. You go to the service officer first, then you go see your doctor at the VA. And James, you can make it all so much easier. And again, would you tell people how to get in touch with you? How do you go to the county service officer? Let's put up the banner. Yeah, there's Dallas County. So if you're in Dallas County, but every county in the state of Texas, I believe, either has one or is associated with one that's got it, correct?
You are absolutely correct. Now, by regulation, by state statute, every county within the state of Texas with a population of over 200,000, and this is not the veteran population, this is the personal population of over 200,000, is mandated by law to have a veteran service office and a veteran service officer associated with that county. And basically what that does is we fall up under the training of the Texas Veterans Commission. So the county service officers are trained by Texas Veterans Commission to provide services to the larger counties, because everybody knows how big Texas is. It takes you a day to drive across Texas. So of any county with a population of over 200,000 is required by state law to have a veteran service officer to assist the veteran community with applying for, understanding the meaning of, and gathering information to apply for Department of Veteran Affairs benefits. So it's imperative that you seek out a county veteran service officer, one that has been certified and accredited through the Department of Veteran Affairs to assist you with anything that you have going forth to the Department of Veteran Affairs. The one reason that you want to ensure that that veteran service officer is accredited, with an accreditation, we have the authorization to get into the meat of your VA file. As an accredited veteran service officer, again, if you come to me, I can get into your file, one, triage it before we start to do anything, because the last thing that we want to do is, so like being with the any other government agency, you want to file it and you want to do the correct thing the first time around, so that we don't have to go back and try to fix something that has already been done the wrong way. So we want to do it the right way the first time, so that we can ensure that the veteran is getting the best of what it is that they are wanting to do through the Department of Veteran Affairs.
James, let me tell you, I work with government loans. I work with VA loans. I work with FHA loans. Primarily, I work with the FHA HECMAC loans. And if you don't get it right, then you got a major problem. And
Exactly.
It's so important to have a professional who knows what they are. And here's one of the other things. What you know today may not work for tomorrow, because the systems are always changing. All of the criteria are always changing.
And they're individualized.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I think this is important. And one of the reasons why this conversation is so important right now is because of the PACT Act, which is about the biggest expansion in the VA benefits in this nation's history.
Yes. Yes.
So let's talk just a little bit about some of the things within the PACT Act. I know they're really focused, for instance, on some of the toxic waste situations or some of the toxic situations we've dealt with.
Exactly. And, being mindful of time, what I'd like to do on the PACT Act is just give you a short synopsis of exactly what the PACT Act is and how it affects. Okay.
Well, let me throw this out. Okay. I actually went online. I'll hold it up, and I don't think you can really see it.
No.
But the PACT Act, you can go online through the VA and get all this information. So I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No problem. Basically, what it does is just a few things here. It expands and extends the eligibility for VA healthcare for veterans within the toxic within the toxic exposures, and veterans of the Vietnam and Gulf War and the post 9/11 era. It adds 20 plus more presumptive conditions for burn pits, Agent Orange, and toxic exposures. It adds more presumptive exposure locations for Agent Orange and radiation. And it requires the VA to provide a toxic exposure screening to every veteran enrolled in the VA system. So if you're a veteran and you're going into the VA system, you're automatically going to get a screening for any type of toxic waste, or if you are within the time period set forth by the Department of Veteran Affairs for the PACT Act, you have a special type of screening that you're going to go through for these particular conditions, or the presumptive conditions that are associated with burn pits, Agent Orange exposure, and also the contaminated water for Camp Lejeune. So what it did was it basically broadened the horizon for presumptive conditions that have been associated with your time period in these war zones. Case in point, just one here. Let's say that you are a Vietnam veteran, and let's say that you were stationed in Guam. In Guam, before the PACT Act, you had to be stationed around the perimeters of Guam in order to be eligible for any type of Agent Orange exposure for benefits. Now with the PACT Act, it eliminated that perimeter issue, and it just brought into the fact that if you were stationed in Guam, period, you could possibly be eligible for benefits under the PACT Act based off of your exposure to Agent Orange. So there's a lot of little details in that, but that just gives the broad aspect of how important this PACT Act is and how it could actually be of significant value to you, and not only to the veteran. This would also have a deep impact on the survivors, because now if the survivor or if the veteran were, let's say, in Vietnam and they did not file a claim prior to their death, we can actually go back, triage this situation, and if we find out that the veteran, before their death, let's say they had prostate cancer and they died of prostate cancer but never filed a claim, we can go back and possibly get benefits, which is dependency and indemnity for that survivor. And that is a benefit that that survivor could have for the rest of their lives. So if you have an issue, if you know of veterans, the bottom line is ask the question. There is no such thing as a crazy question or, a question that shouldn't be asked about the possibility of benefits through the Department of Veteran Affairs. Ask the question.
I know a widow down in Silsbee, Texas, because her husband was a Navy SEAL and a very, very dear friend of mine, and he died of cancer. And there was a whole lot of complications with that and with his son. And so I'm going to get a hold of her and say, this is where you need to go, because there may be things that can benefit you. And that's great, because I think he died 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago, and it would still come under that. And so that is huge, James.
Yes.
If nothing else, we just fired some rockets off to help some people for the 4th of July.
Yep, exactly.
And I think that's great. Can you tell a story? Something comes to mind, and I'm rambling, but can you still tell a story about a veteran that you were maybe able to help? I know you helped me get one in Norfolk, Virginia. I know another. I want to take another real quick story. A guy moved from Virginia to Texas and didn't know what to do. And he had several medications, and he couldn't take his medications because they ran out, and he couldn't get his disability check. And he came to me, and I mean, he was screaming, raving. The poor guy was out of his mind. And you know what? I think I called you. This was years ago, and you took care of it. And that guy had medications within hours, and he had a disability check within hours. And all of the things that he was so upset about, if he had known and done before he came to Texas, or if he'd known when he got here, he wouldn't have had a single problem. There wasn't anything that he didn't make a contribution to create the nightmare. And that's important. Talk to James Henderson or talk to a VA accredited rep. Correct?
But the one thing that I tell a lot of, I also visit military bases. One thing that I tell the folks that I'm talking with, especially those that are in the military, we look at Department of Defense, and then we look at the Department of Veteran Affairs. The Department of Defense is great at what they do. Beans and bullets, that is their number one goal. Beans and bullets. However, being in the military, there's two ways that you're going to come out of the military. Your feet planted flat on the ground or your toes up. However, the Department of Defense does not, in my opinion, don't do a good job at supplying guys with the need or supplying them with the much needed elements to get out of the military, because
let's call it training and information, because that's what we did a lot of. And you're right.
Exactly. Because now you've got a big transition from Department of Defense, which is beans and bullets, to Department of Veteran Affairs, now taking care of the issues that you had while you were in. So unfortunately, those two organizations, they do play in the same sandbox, but they don't get along.
Well, they don't communicate. That's for sure.
They don't communicate. So our job is to ensure that you understand what your rights are after you leave military service. And that's where the Department of Veteran Affairs comes in. So getting in contact again with a veteran service officer to let you know what your benefits are after your transition into this civilian life is paramount, because you have benefits that you've earned. These are not benefits that somebody just gave to you. These are benefits that you have earned. We want to ensure that you understand what those benefits are, how to apply for those benefits, and We want to ensure that you're getting the maximum benefit based off of whatever the situation it is that you are being faced with.
And let me tell you, you don't have to chase these guys down. If there is a major event going on, I know, for instance, a Veterans Day parade, I'm going to assume 4th of July parade, there'll be that big white bus van that you guys have that says the VA healthcare
Yes.
system on it.
Mhm.
And either you or some of your team members are going to be there. And there's usually Mallory from the Texas Veterans Land Board to talk about what they do as well. There are a lot of benefits that veterans don't know about. Texas
Yeah.
Veterans Land Board,
Mhm.
VA home loans,
Mhm.
and these things, and education in the state of Texas, the Hazelwood Act,
Yes.
which enables tuition free to go to a state school.
150
These things
hours.
are so important. And I know you go on bases and you talk. I know you go to a lot of things. I know I've had county veteran service officers go with me and speak to large seniors groups.
Mhm.
It's important because either the training wasn't there or the veteran wasn't paying attention. But when they come out, it's amazing what they don't know. And what you don't know can hurt you big time.
Exactly. It can hurt you or eliminate your process, or eliminate you from being able to obtain benefits that you have rightfully earned.
I want to make a statement too, and you can correct me, because there's so much television advertising right now about burn pits. Now I'm seeing a lot of stuff. Were you in Navy firefighting schools? Yes. All of these things. Those deals were money that was set aside by lawsuit. They do not affect the VA. They do not affect the military. But you might get a check that's been watered down through so many big, huge law firms, but you may need medical attention. And the thing of it is that medical attention, if you go to the VA, is going to be specially suited to you with people who understand what's going on, because they're there every day, 7 days a week,
and know how to treat that particular condition.
Absolutely. And most of the time, what I've run into is you don't have one condition, you have a pyramid, a locking of conditions. And in most of, go ahead.
Jim, I tell a lot of veterans this, all the time. Being a person of the military, we have conditions that are lifelong conditions. We through training or whatever. So our conditions are going to be a little bit different than most of your civilian conditions. We get hurt in we get hurt for a lifetime, and being able to have an avenue that you can go to, be treated for those particular conditions, whatever they are, and not have the burden of having to pay for these things.
Absolutely. James, I want to make another point too. It's not, VA helps military. That's what we're all about.
Exactly.
But it's not isolated to the military. If you've ever heard about Love Canal, if you've ever heard about some of the toxic waste that's happened in other places in the nation, if you've ever driven through a forest fire and smoke and you go, oh my goodness gracious, what was burning? All of these things happen in the civilian world. People who get run over by an 18-wheeler, we see those ads. All of these things happen, but the military has benefits to help you medically, financially, and every other ways with men and women who have served right alongside you, and that's important. So when we come back, we're going to be bringing this program back into the dock, but this is a great conversation. Come on back. Welcome back to the Veterans Impact Show, and thanks to our sponsors, Fairway Independent Mortgage and Lone Star Wealth Strategies. Now, let's continue this great conversation. Hey, I got James Henderson, Dallas County Veteran Service Officer, VA accredited rep. probably the most knowledgeable guy I have ever met in my life, who knows how to navigate the VA healthcare system and the VA benefits. But more than that, he cares so much, and he is the epitome of what we all need to look at and say, we want to continue the mission. We want to bring our brothers and sisters together. We want to change this nation into one nation that we're working together as a team, just the same as we did when we were in the military, to continue that mission. So, James Henderson, Bruddy, thank you so much for bringing the sparkle to today's program. And I think it's so important. So, again, how can people get a hold of you? What's the best place to go?
All right. For my particular organization, what I'd like for you to do is, if you go on the Dallas County webpage, www.dallascounty.org.
And we just put it up
screen right now. For veterans that are, or for anyone that is needing any type of information about the Department of Veteran Affairs or anything about veterans, period. If you would just stroll on the left-hand side of the page there, there is a tab that says Contact Us. Fill out that Contact Us form. It comes directly to my office, and a veteran service officer will get with you within 48 hours. I say 48 hours because we have a lot of folks that are requesting information. So please bear with us when we are trying to contact you back. Give us a little bit of time. We will get back in contact with you. Or the other way to contact us is going to be through telephone, which is going to be 972-693. And Jim, I'm giving you my personal telephone number. I apologize. I have so many telephone numbers to remember.
No, I think the 214 number that I call you on, that's your business number.
That is my business number.
Okay, let's give out that one. 214. I don't have it in front of me, but
819-1887. That will ring directly at my desk. However, there are sometimes that there will be times that you won't get in contact with me directly. I will have to forward you on to one of my assistant veteran service officers. But we are all certified, and we are. I've got some new folks now that are just getting their accreditation. But you will be taken care of. You will be serviced, and you will be serviced in the most professional manner that it is that we can do. Because what we look at is, one day we're going to be on the opposite side of this table, and we want folks to treat us the same way that we're treating folks right now.
I think that's tremendously important, because these are your brothers and sisters.
Exactly.
This is not somebody that comes in off the street that gets one of these jobs. These are people who want to do this work. And let me tell you something, having done the government mortgages and working with government loans, I know what it is to navigate government bureaucratic system. And if you know it and you work it, then you can do it. And I get them done and get them closed on time. If you don't know what you're doing, it's going to blow up in your face. And maybe I shouldn't say it that directly. My wife would correct me and say, well, I'm telling you.
We want to do it right. Do it right the first way.
Now we've had up the Dallas County Veteran Service Officer, and you made a point that in any county that's 200,000 total population, not veterans, but total, they've got access. And if you don't, all you got to do is contact James, and he'll say, hey, give me a minute and I'll get you a contact in your part of the world, because he's done it for me for helping people throughout the United States. So we are not necessarily the clearinghouse or the directory for the rest of the world, but let me tell you something. There are VA accredited reps in every city and every state, through VFW, through American Legion, through DAV. They're all here for you. James, we've only got probably 4 minutes left. And I think one of the most important things that I want people to know, we talked and I made a statement about the military doesn't necessarily be the only place where you can run into medical problems and psychological problems, the whole civilian world. And so yet our experience, you and my experience, was phenomenal. And we represent, I'm going to say, 90% of the veterans out there. that people
Mhm.
don't even think about. All they think about is the wounded warrior who's really been hurt. Let me tell
Yeah.
you something. There's probably 90% of us that have never been hurt. Yet
Right.
we come together in trying to help people. What would you say to a young man or young woman, real quick, who says, gee, I'm trying to figure out what to do with my life? What would you say to them?
You're trying to figure out what to do with your life. As a young person, yeah, I can understand that. I was 22 years old when I went into the military. However, joining the military and saying that or giving the greatest thing in life is being able to give more than you're taking in. Okay. If you are wanting to try to, or if you're wanting to try to make a difference in this world, make a difference in your life, military service may be one way to look at it. You're going to be trained. You're going to be you're going to have the best training in the world, and also it is going to give you the opportunity to know that you are actually helping with your fellow mankind, and also being able to just say that, hey, I was in the military. Here's what I did. It's a world within a world, Jim. You know,
Yes.
it's crazy, but you know, just trying to explain this is it. We could talk about this all day long.
When you look back,
When I look back,
it's the best in the world.
What was it? One of the best decisions that I ever made? Yes, it was
All
one of
right.
the best decisions that I ever made, and I do it again.
Let me close with a prayer. Lord God, we are so thankful for all you do and for this wonderful nation and this birthday of our nation that we're celebrating. And I want to say thank you for your protection around our active duty military and our first responders who run to the fire, not run away from it. Thank you, God, for all our veterans do in leading our community and continuing the mission. And dear God, we pray for revival and bringing us all back together to work one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. And thank you, James Henderson. You are a man of excellence who continues the mission. God, you are always, always the best. And thank you for being on board.
Jim, thank you.
Have a great day. Go out and have some peach pie.